You call yourself a metalhead? You don't have long hair. You're not a real metalhead.
What's up guys, welcome to yet another episode of #asktuggtv. We hope you and your loved ones are safe at home and powering through this whole pandemic situation like all of us are. So without any further ado, let's start this episode of #asktuggtv. Marco Warsnop asks us, do you play in a band? Well Marco, both of us were part of this band called Counterplot Theory, which existed quite somewhere between 2012 to I think 2016, 2017 roughish. Well, before that, me as any other musician out there was part of quite a handful number of bands and we performed all over the city. The main ones to mention were Dark Visions and Crossroads.
In addition to playing in Counterplot Theory with Vishesh, I at the moment also play bass with a buddy Sonaksh's project called Mutiny. I've linked it in the description. Check out our music.
We all have the one band or song which made you pick up the guitar more. What is it for you two?
The one band that got me playing without a doubt, for me, Iron Maiden.
Well, this is a pretty tricky question here because let's face it, I kind of started listening to heavy metal and was drawn to it quite at a very young age. But then I never really had plans of picking up the guitar ever. Now, one of the main reasons why I picked up the guitar was the fact that a few of my friends joined into the classes and I was just too bored to sit at home. I think during that time I was like tripping over Slipknot quite a bit, and yeah, I think the first song which I wanted to learn when I picked up the guitar was Before I Forget.
Swastik Shaker asks, can you tell what is the future of rock and metal in India, and if there is, good scope? I think at this point, with the whole coronavirus situation going on, there is bound to be a lot of change in the way we perceive and consume any style of music, especially live music, and metal is no different. While there is plenty happening online and there's us as well trying to do our bit in the online community, I definitely think that there is going to be a change for the better. Like I for one see a lot more online shows happening, where you got bands that are able to book out venues and then have their shows either stream or have it recorded and then watched online, and then the rest of us can sort of purchase a ticket and watch. So I think that's something that's bound to happen to rock and metal in India and the rest of the world. In fact, comes with a little bit of good and bad. One thing is we will need to see how the venue situation is now going to be tackled. Now, up until this point, if a band wanted to play or if there was a show that was due to happen, you would talk to a venue, you'd sort of get things in order, and then you'd have to rent out equipment and all that stuff. Now, while the equipment rental and all that continues to be there, I think that will become the prime focus now, because the venue cannot think about how am I going to generate revenue and people coming in and consuming my drinks and food and all of that. They would have to think about ticket sales, and ticket sales is what is going to push it, especially streaming or watching a pre-recorded show online. So it will be interesting to see what happens, but if you ask me, long story short, I definitely think it's here to stay for a while.
Darker Demogorgon asks us, is it okay if I wash my guitar with Dettol liquid? Well, if you're referring to the current situation with the virus all around the world, why just stop at Dettol? Why not use hand sanitizer? It kills 99.9% of the germs without any water.
Favorite Netflix series? I'm not big on TV, but if I have to think of a couple which I really liked, one was Mindhunter. I also like Manhunt, Unabomber, The Witcher, Sacred Games, and of course Rick and Morty. RTG asks, is Fatado's music school in Bangalore any good? Can you guys suggest me some good guitar teaching centers in Bangalore? Okay, so I am a self-taught guitarist and I honestly have not been to any music schools in terms of learning anything. So honestly, I may not be the right guy for this because I simply might not know. To answer your question, going by having spoken to multiple people and whatever I've read on the internet, I do believe that TUGGtv and Nathaniel School of Music are also excellent places for you to go and learn. So you should probably also check them out. Not that there's anything wrong with Fatado's, I'm sure Fatado's is very good. It's just that I personally have heard a lot about these two places, so be sure to check them out as well.
Bugatti Chiron asks us, why in India is rap music considered so precious than any other genre? Because these so-called rapsters tend to show themselves as so-called musicians even if they don't try to sing. Well, Bugatti, I think that's a very honest thought, and yes, I do completely agree with you. Well, in places like India, if you consider genres like hard rock, metal, or anything of this sort, it kind of comes packaged with the stigma about the music. We have discussed this in, I think, one of our previous episodes. And well, when it comes to rappers, I think this is not only here in India, but then if you consider people globally, most of them glorify having lots of money, driving lots of cars, and fornicating with female dogs. So this does kind of play among the minds of people who are not all that very mature in life, so they kind of feel this is what life is all about. And yeah, it kind of becomes easy for them to lose track of reality. And also it's one of the most frustrating things when somebody comes up to you and says, hey, you know, Yo-Yo Honey Singh is like the biggest rock star in the world. And you just...
Darshan Kumar asks, as a guitarist, how do I go about studying music theory? Any sources, books you would recommend? Darshan, that's a great question. And personally, as a self-taught guitarist, I also have struggled with this for quite some time. As I mentioned earlier, I did not specifically go to any music school as such. But over time, I've realized that music theory is important. It's not that you have to know absolutely everything and, you know, write the Trinity exam to be considered a musician, but it sort of helps you understand where you are, what you're doing, and also it does help you improve your style, over a period of time. If anything, it will always tell you what you're doing wrong, and when you're learning something, there's always scope to improve. Sources of books I'd recommend, I've done a lot of my learning on YouTube itself, so I've gone through a lot of, Tyler stuff. Tyler from Music is Win. And one, source that I would definitely recommend, and this is something I followed and I think it did wonders to my playing, is Trey Xavier's, what was it called? RelationShapes. That's what it's called. It is by Trey Xavier from Gear Gods, and the name of the course is RelationShapes. It is on Udemy, so Udemy keeps having sales and all of that stuff. If you want to go through that, you can consider it. I think it's great. It teaches you a little bit in terms of the scales, the modes, how to correlate modes and your scales and all of that. And it sort of works well if you already know some amount of guitar playing and you want to sort of take off from there without the basics. So be sure to check it out. RelationShapes. I'll actually link it in the description below.
Don't you guys think that Kirk Hammet is an awesome guitar player? I just can't stand the hate that he gets. Well, coming to Kirk Hammet, I think this is one of the most sensitive topics that a lot of our viewers are gonna have. We all know that a lot of his riffs were not used in the early Metallica albums, and kind of just the solos were used in there. He is kind of constricted by a lot of things. So coming to his guitar solos, I do agree that there are some really good solos out there, and also I am one of the people who says he literally overuses the wah-wah every single time. Insert one among the million Kirk Hammett and wah-wah metal memes here.
And with that, we come to the end of another episode. Thank you so much for pouring in those questions. We've had a lot of them come in, and in case we haven't aired the question in this episode, it definitely will be aired in the next. In the meantime, comment section is open. Be sure to keep asking us questions. Give this video a thumbs up if you like what you see. Subscribe to our channel. Be sure to hit the bell icon to get frequent updates from us. This is TUGGtv signing off. Until next time.